Thank you for joining us on Managing Your SOC in the Cloud. We're really excited to have this discussion today. Just a few notes as we get started. You'll see there's a number of engagement tools in your console that you can interact with. You can make any of the windows that you see smaller, larger, move them around as you'd like. We won't have too many slides today. This is mostly going to be a discussion. If you have any questions as we're moving through for any of the presenters, or if you just have a technical issue or anything like that, please put that in the Q&A section. We have a request a demo widget as well, which you can access at any time. And if we don't answer any questions, if we run out of time or anything like that, we can definitely follow up with you. So we will keep a log of all the questions as they come in. And everything, if you have any technical issues or anything like that, just submit your questions, and I think we're ready to get started.
Fabulous. Well, thanks, Ali. Welcome, everybody. My name is Upesh Patel. I'm the Senior Vice President of Corporate Development here at Devo, and I am pretty excited to have a great panel today of speakers to talk about how we can manage our SOC in the cloud. Just a little background, as I said, I manage corporate development here at Devo. I've been in the security industry for over 20 years, and I've worked for a number of different startups, and super excited to be here at Devo. And with that, I'm going to introduce our presenters. So we have three presenters. We have three panelists. Aaron Vallejo is the CISO at Oklahoma University. We have Siva Sadhu from AWS. He's a Senior Partner Solutions Architect. And we have Josh Copeland from AT&T. He's the Cybersecurity Director and manages the SOC over there. So I'll let each of you guys introduce yourselves. And, maybe we could just start and you can tell us, what your role is at the company, how long you've been there, and just maybe a little quick question I always like to ask is, as a CISO, what kind of keeps you up at night as well, managing your SOC? Aaron, you want to go first?
Sure thing. Thank you. So, as mentioned, my name is Aaron Vallejo. I'm the CISO for the University of Oklahoma system. I've been in this role a little over 2 years now, maybe 2.5 years. I'm with the university a little over 7 years. And prior to coming to academia, I did 11 years with the Department of Defense in information assurance, security engineering. And so definitely a interesting shift moving from an organization that likes to keep secrets to an organization that is designed to give them all away. So certainly a challenge. It's been an awesome journey. If you're not aware of University of Oklahoma, we're kind of the jewel of central Oklahoma. If you're a sports fan, certainly you've heard of the Sooners. We have about 33,000 students across our 3 campuses and about another 12 to 13,000 full-time faculty and staff. So what keeps me up at night, as far as the SOC is concerned, there are so many things that could be listed, especially in academia. We've made a lot of inroads in a lot of areas, but the one thing that still keeps me up at night is on the application security side, having the right insight, the right tools to be alerted and being aware of what's happening with our custom apps. And we're certainly going to go into a bit of that today. So should be a good conversation on that topic.
Fabulous. Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, that sounds really interesting. Josh, would you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Josh Copeland. I've been with AT&T in one form or another for the last 2 years. Before that, I spent some time with another federal contractor. Prior to that, I did 20 years in the Air Force, so been in IT in one way, shape, or form for about the last 25 years or so. In my current role, I oversee security stuff for one of AT&T's large contracts. Prior to that, I ran a multi-tenant SOC for 4 separate organizations in a combined SOC environment. So definitely have a lot of experience with all things SOC and security. Things that keep me up at night is just the ever-evolving and growing threat vectors that we keep seeing. Threat actors are growing, they're splitting, they're creating new variants of new and exciting malware. So trying to keep on pace with that while still being budget constrained and personnel constrained is, what really drives me to lose sleep.
Thanks, Josh, and hey, thanks for your service as well. That's great, and welcome. Siva, you want to introduce yourself and what you do at AWS?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Siva Sadhu. I'm a Senior Partner Solutions Architect at AWS based in Amsterdam. I work with our startup and ISV partners across the EMEA region, focusing on co-innovation and co-selling initiatives, helping them deliver a joint product value proposition for the mutual customers. I've been with AWS for almost 3 years now, but I've been a customer of AWS for more than 6 years prior. So been helping different startups and scale-ups migrate their workloads to the cloud or even build new cloud-native solutions on AWS.
That's great. That's great. Well, welcome. Hey, thanks for joining. So yeah, let's jump right into this into the discussion. Let's talk about digital transformation and the journeys that you guys have faced. I mean, from where you were or where the company was before they started migrating some of the services applications to the cloud. So Aaron and Noah, if you want to talk about Oklahoma University and see how discuss that from your perspective.
Yeah, well, we had one app in particular. It's kind of our student portal where kids go to access their grades, register for courses, pay their bill, bursar bills. It's kind of the one-stop shop. And historically had been an on-prem app. And as you can imagine, that application just gets slammed beginning of the semester, when kids need to register, and then at the end of the semester when they're trying to get their grades, they're trying to, kind of close things up. And so for a while, the development team had been playing with some services in AWS, with elasticity, with containers, and just being able to more dynamically support kind of this application and the students in that way. And I would say as an institution, in some ways, we've been somewhat reluctant to move to the cloud, just with so many unknowns, especially on the security side. But we did finally make the shift, and that was really kind of our first, I would say, foray, our shift to, doing more production in the cloud. And so that was our, like you said, our catalyst event. But we went in blind in a lot of different ways. And so been playing catch up, certainly delivering, I think, a better product to our constituents. But it has been a journey of discovery in a lot of different ways.
And how long ago was that, Aaron? And where are you on that journey now?
Yeah, that was kind of right at COVID, I would say, kind of 2.5 years ago at this point. Just that transition also allowed us to repurpose resources, do a lot to kind of help position the students and faculty to deliver more, online focused education, tie into different services and tools that would help streamline that whole transition.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And then you said your security came a little later in that journey. So your security came after you started moving that portal application onto the cloud?
Well, I say that. We were involved in the development to some extent, and had some baseline requirements for the team when they moved in, but it was the operational aspect, the monitoring, how are we going to kind of maintain a security posture as time evolves. And these have all been things that, as we have leveraged tools like our SIM, we actually picked up Devo a year ago now. Some of our other monitoring tools, and then some things that are native to AWS, really finding a way to put all of those things together to kind of maintain that operational picture of what's happening in that environment, securing that environment as, like I said, time progresses, monitoring the containers for vulnerabilities and all these other kind of things. So, like I said, it was our real first foray into an operational security practice in the public infrastructure.
That's great. That's great. And how far along do you think you are in that journey? Are you still feel like you're in the beginning of it, in the middle? How much?
I feel like we are at a steady state. There's certainly still some things that we're discovering as we continue to leverage more and more tools that are native to AWS and supplemented with, I would say, third-party applications to kind of help us. I feel like we have a much better perspective on or maybe the usage of our public infrastructure. And that not only helps from a security perspective, but also from the development team to look at, the performance of the application, how they can manage usage, manage budget, manage all kinds of different things. And so, I think opportunities still internally is being able to share this kind of monitoring information, security operations types of data to more effectively streamline kind of our ops and then maybe migrate additional applications from traditional on-prem infrastructure to our public cloud.
Oh, that's great. Great. Thank you. Yeah, that was fabulous. Hey, Josh, you want to talk about I want to know how far, you said a couple of years at AT&T, so AT&T is a massive organization, I'm assuming. I mean, digital transformation for AT&T must be a massive undertaking.
Yeah. So AT&T is a giant company. They are the number one telco in the United States for a reason. But with what I've done with AT&T, we did some cloud transformation starting right when I first came on with AT&T. And, it was really driven by kind of a threefold functionality. One part was weighing out the operational capital expense. Where am I going to spend my money? How is it going to be recouped? And what type of money am I spending? Second part is how is moving to the cloud free up my people to do other work? When you move to the cloud, there are some things that are offloaded to your cloud provider. There's some things that you still maintain accountability for, and that kind of factors into your budget as well. And then, when you have major cloud providers, such as AWS, there is a robust security program that goes behind them that takes care of a lot of the stuff when you're looking at meeting industry standards and benchmarks. You're looking to potentially go FedRAMP or have a FISMA type environment, state ramp, text ramp, any of those kind of, environments. Cloud helps you get there a little bit faster because your cloud provider does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. You're inheriting a whole bunch of controls. You're inheriting a whole bunch of documentation and work that now as a organization, I don't have to generate all that myself. I'm able to leverage that from their documentation, pull that in, and then allow me to kind of focus really on my applications, what I'm doing with the data inside that environment.
No, that it's so right. I mean, they do take a lot. When you started, or as AT&T moved some of their capabilities, I mean, what was their prioritization? How did they prioritize what pieces moved first, and then where are they with the security infrastructure as well? Is most of the security infrastructure in the cloud as well now, or is it very much a hybrid?
largely varies based on the division. Some divisions have done a much more push for, cloud-based infrastructure. My division definitely has put a cloud-first mentality where anything that we can move to cloud, we will do so because that reduces our footprint, allows us to kind of focus more on serving our customers rather than building and maintaining large data centers.
Yeah, oh, that's great. And you mentioned one of the reasons was, for your staff to be able to do other work. So have you found that the staff that were managing and maintaining those servers and that infrastructure, have you repurposed those people to do more interesting security work as opposed to managing systems? Was that part of the journey?
We were absolutely able to take folks that were doing some kind of routine, up, down, go push the button type maintenance, and get them into, SOC analyst positions, able to transition them into more consulting where they're able to use the skills that they developed and provide additional help to our customer base. So it's kind of a win-win for us because we're able to take those personnel that have built this big body of knowledge and apply them to other things while reducing our overall costs.
That's fabulous. That's great. That's great. Thank you. Hey, Siva, from your perspective, as you've seen these organizations move, Josh talked a little bit about, some of the data concerns, right, in terms of, responsibility of who manages the data and what regulations each side provides. Well, what do you see from an AWS perspective? Is that something that most customers come and say, yeah, this is fantastic, you guys manage that for us. So what are you seeing?
Well, we see a lot of customers, especially in this post-pandemic era, focusing on digital transformation a lot because, they're trying to either improve the productivity of their teams or the customer experience or even reduce some operational cost. And AWS as a cloud provider helps them achieve all of their key initiatives. And when they talking about when they move to the cloud from a security perspective, AWS follows the shared responsibility model between AWS and the customer for both security and compliance. So as Josh was also mentioning, AWS takes care of the security of the cloud. When we talk about protecting the infrastructure that runs all of the services that run on the cloud, or the physical infrastructure, the networking, the facilities is taken care of by AWS. And there's also the customer responsibility, which is the security in the cloud, where customers own the data and they are responsible for protecting the data using the tools and services that AWS provides, like a security groups, like a firewalls, a web application firewall, and various other security-focused services. So we see customers leverage all of these tools and controls to secure the data and also ensure that they're compliant with the various necessary compliance programs that are necessitated. And on a day-to-day basis, solutions architect like myself help customers achieve this as well.
Yeah. Aaron, I know at the university, when you guys looked at a solution, so when you looked at you're moving or migrating your SOC into the cloud with Devo, how much of that was important to you in terms of, hey, it's the cloud provider who's doing all of that, or was it more the solution provider, in this case Devo, that was providing a lot of the data security layers, and how much, help me understand some of the decision making you made there as well, in terms of who's doing what level of security of your data, right, that's sitting in the cloud?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think, as we were going down that journey, there were a lot of, I would say, organizational pressures on us as well. We were merging kind of campus leadership to a system perspective. And so instead of having kind of three different CIOs and IT teams, we merged into one. So we had three kind of security teams that have historically operated very independently. now on the same team. We had a lot of effort kind of put into standardization, centralizing on processes and getting those teams working together. And one thing that really, I think, helped get us kind of one step further into a unified team was to have a tool where we could just kind of turn around in each campus, point logs to a cloud source, and everyone is now kind of looking at the same tools, the same pictures, the same models and analytics. And so, like I said, we had that organizational pressure. Then we had kind of this unknown with moving into AWS and trying to define exactly what you're describing is cloud responsibility versus what we're doing. And, honestly, our perspective coming into it was we really want to do everything we're doing from an operational security perspective on campus in the cloud. And quickly learned that it's not really a one-for-one, right? There is kind of a paradigm shift that does need to occur to be more effective, not only from an infrastructure perspective, but from an operational picture. And so we definitely leverage some of the expertise from the Devo teams to kind of help us effectively point logs appropriately, get really our cloud logs, especially define how we're going to ingest those. And because of the kind of native cloud nature of the platform, that was certainly one of our least concerns was being able to ingest logs and some of the outputs from an AWS security perspective. So like I said, it was certainly a journey, just like everything else. We had some good mentoring, but I think as well, we were able to find maybe from a compliance perspective, hey, this is a responsibility that the cloud is providing. It's contracted. We have, supporting artifacts for that. So, from an audit and a compliance perspective, we have that documentation. And then from an operational perspective, we are still kind of have the prevention, the detection, rapid response, and just that visibility that I think as a SOC you kind of crave. We still had all those things as well. So, maybe just to summarize, we definitely had some organizational pressure, I think, to move to the cloud. It certainly made some of our choices a lot easier. And then with some, like I said, mentoring and some guidance as well as expertise on our team, we're able to quickly kind of identify where those roles were. Amazon does provide a lot of capabilities out of the box. I think what we're more used to is a more customized approach, kind of best of breed. And so leveraging the right tools and capabilities on our end to feel comfortable in that environment, and then have that compliance checklist. Like, hey, look, Amazon, we inherit these controls from Amazon. Here's the artifact. We kind of put that away for our audit teams and GRC teams.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, just touching on that, I mean, maybe Josh, maybe I can point this one to you, but do you notice that as we move into this, to a cloud-based SOC environment where you're putting your logs into the cloud now, do you notice like new responsibilities that you guys had to adopt, within the organization that you didn't have in the past? Things like compliance and, things like, hey, how am I going to make sure that I'm meeting the regulations and the auditor's requirements? Now I no longer manage these systems internally. So did you have to have new responsibilities within the organization or within the team to manage that?
Yeah, and that's a great question. There absolutely was a bit of a paradigm shift from having somebody who's managing all of your internal GRC, government risk and compliance stuff. So now you have someone who's kind of doing what you might call third-party attestation. So Now I have to take all of their documents, look at it, see if it meets my level and standard of what I need, or if I need to go back to them and say, I need a bit more clarification for this. Fortunately for, folks like Amazon, they've been through this hundreds and hundreds of times for a plethora of auditors. So their documentation has really, over the course of time, become really spectacular for what it covers, what they provide to us out of the box. So we still have to do due diligence, verify everything is what it is, but that's now a new kind of position of making sure that occurs rather than generating all the documents ourselves.
That's great. And you have somebody responsible for that now, Josh?
We do. We have a small team that actually goes through and works with all of our third-party, cloud providers, SaaS solutions to kind of gather all that documentation up so we can meet the requirements of our audit specifications, whether it's a SOC 2 or a text ramp or a FedRAMP type of audit.
That's great. That's great. And maybe it's a good question for Siva. Just on the same topic, Devo as a provider of a solution on the AWS platform. From AWS's perspective, how are you, managing providers who run on the platform? And what are the types of certifications and regulations you apply? Like, I know about security competency, right? Maybe you can help me describe a little bit about AWS security competency and what does that mean? And what does that mean for the customer? And what does that mean in terms of when you drive it through to a vendor like Devo as well?
Yeah, so we work with the partners to extend the capabilities of our cloud. I, as a partner solutions architect, that's my focus area as well. So partners like Devo help extend the capabilities in the security segment of the cloud. And when such partners help our customers in any area related to security, they go through a program called a security competency, which is part of the APN or AWS Partner Network programs, where we validate the partner solution against a set of best practices. And it gives an assurance to our mutual customers that, yes, this partner solution does what it says it does, and it is also aligned with the best practices that are recommended by AWS. So customers will have more confidence in adopting the solution and deploying it in their cloud environments to achieve their security and compliance requirements.
No, that's great. That's great. And are there specific areas around regulations as well that AWS mandates with some of these solutions running there? Like ramp, etc.
AWS provides recommendations, as we rightly pointed out. There's the artifact service, which provides all the artifacts required to comply with any regulations. And there are also mechanisms where customers reach out to their account managers or a solutions architect like myself who can help provide additional information when customers require compliance with any of the regulations.
Okay, cool. No, that's great. So let's switch a little bit into the discussion and talk about how you guys are leveraging a SOC-based cloud like Devo, right? I mean, what are some of the capabilities in a cloud-based SIM solution or log management and security analytics solution that you guys see as the value proposition that you're seeing, within your organization? So, Josh, maybe you want to start on this one and talk a little bit about, what are you seeing as the key value propositions for running your SIM in the cloud as opposed to trying to do it internally?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for us, one of our biggest bonuses of using a cloud-based SIM like Devo is that it really fits our business model a lot better. We provide a leveraged managed SOC. And being cloud-based means where you are in the world doesn't really matter to us. We can take whatever you have, send it to a collector and point that to Devo, and it's going to get there. It's going to be processed. We're going to be able to do engagement. It's all going to be normalized. It's going to be put into a method that I can take a look at it, do what we need to do from a SOC perspective, and get back to you in a matter of minutes, as opposed to having on-prem solutions where we have to kind of build out tunnels, build out pipes, and set up VPN tunnels between different sites. This is all kind of all native. It's all built in. We can use things like API to push logs in, syslog, all those kind of out-of-the-box tool sets that makes the engineering piece just so much simpler than what we do if we were using an on-premise tool.
Yeah. No, that's great. And Josh, how many different, like, two questions, I guess. One, just to point on that one, how many different locations, and then also how many different sources of ingest are you guys looking at today?
So we're talking, upwards of 25 different clients, and that's upwards of each client having, upwards of 100 to 200 sites that we're all ingesting in. And then all of the logs from those devices in those things, we're talking, in a unaggregated number, hundreds of thousands of devices coming in. So it's super robust. It allows us to kind of do things that we would not be able to do with, bare metal computing that we own.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's a lot of data coming in there. Aaron, maybe you can give me a little bit about where you guys are at the university.
Yeah, well, like I mentioned before, we did have some organizational pressures, but the key advantage, I think, of having our SIEM in the cloud is just the dynamic nature of the platform. I would say that's probably number one, right? So we have a lot of flexibility with APIs, with the ability to integrate all of our tools in different ways, whether it's for data collection or response or kind of everything in between. That is honestly the key differentiator. Now, with any other movement to the cloud, you're going to get some efficiencies with, not having to have personnel dedicated to maintaining on-prem infrastructure. Being in higher ed, we prefer, or maybe not prefer, but we have enterprise sizes and kind of charity size budgets, and so we have often relied on open source tooling and those kinds of things. And so we have always had a number of people just dedicated to maintaining open source products, all the care and feeding that goes into that, building our own dashboards, alerts, correlations, you name it. And so for us, this was really an opportunity not only to centralize and standardize on a product, but to have something that's more turnkey, gets us to, I think, a more firm security posture more quickly, and then give us the flexibility, right, to do outside the box integrations or even kind of standard integrations with our existing platforms. And so, we also have probably 24 different data feeds, if not more. And that list is always growing as our compliance teams keep telling us that, and our internal audit is like, hey, we have a lot of critical infrastructure. We need to make sure that we're monitoring it all. And so, that does kind of tend to become a burden for higher ed, like I said, about budgets and personnel resources. But the dynamic nature and flexibility, I think, of a cloud-based SIEM gets us much further than what we could build by ourselves on-prem.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then just following up on that, I mean, now you have that. I mean, really curious to understand, what kinds of threats, what kind of detections, querying are you doing on that? Is there an element of, detections going on now that you weren't able to do in the past that you can now do since you have all this data in a single source?
Honestly, that's probably a better question for my SOC manager. I probably only get the good and the bad in little bursts. I will say it's certainly an evolution for us. We actually just went from, I think, 30-day log retention up to a year. That's how much I think we plan on investing in the capabilities of Devo and a cloud SIEM, just because at this point, we have a lot of compliance constraints. We have, just so much changing and adapting, and we're now moving into a lot more research capabilities that may have controlled and classified information and other things where we'll be leveraging kind of GovCloud in AWS and some other kind of high security environments. So we do kind of see it as a focal point to be able to do new things, more easily kind of address our logging and kind of monitoring situation as we do adapt to new challenges and focus on some more mission critical aspects than just kind of your run-of-the-mill enterprise security kind of tasks.
Yeah. No, I hear you. What about you, Josh? Josh, have you? I'm curious. Have you guys started seeing or using? Because now you've got visibility across so many more, clients and so many more devices. Are you seeing new ways of utilizing that data to identify new threats or identify, new concerns that you didn't have in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. When you get more and more data put in, it allows you to kind of take a step back, bigger picture, and you're able to kind of connect the dots a little better than you would be, just looking at logs from an individual, tool, whether it's an IDS or AV system, an EDR. Having a tool that is, one, robust, two, has the compute power, and then allows you to do, actual correlation and alerting based off of cyber threat intelligence. I'm able to better track how something got in, where it's going, and where it came from, because I have access to all of this data and a platform which allows me to do very fast queries to determine where that stuff came from and link that across multiple different log types, which you don't necessarily have with the native capabilities.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah, and do you know? Are you like taking all of the alerts that are coming from these existing infrastructure and putting it into Devo? Or are you looking at the entire log source as well?
We're doing both. So we're getting all the alerts from the various tool sets as well as, system logs and security logs and all of those things. And putting all that stuff together allows me to go, well, this IDS alerted on this. And here are all the different pieces and parts that I can trail back to and go, well, the IDS alerted on it, but it alerted on outbound traffic going to a known bad, CTI, CNC control module. And I can go back and go, well, it alerted here, but it came from this system, from this network, and kind of trail that back because I have the data to be able to do that. And we have the compute power to be able to actually do this kind of really large, robust queries.
And, one of the benefits of Devo is gives you this 400 days of hot data, right? Do you see that as a benefit of looking for threats that are lower and slower in speed in terms of how they evolve and how they come into your network? So do you see yourselves querying data in more longer term periods as well, like, historical, as opposed to just the short-term data? Yeah,
absolutely. And that kind of goes into the we have this concept that a 0 day comes out and we need to hurry and identify it, do remediation on it. But we kind of take a look at it from the perspective of that's when it became public. That vulnerability has been out there for a while. So when we create logic for that, we actually go and retroactively apply that logic to all of our hot data. So we might be able to find where before the 0 day was announced, where we've been exploited by that, and really find out where those things are from a historical standpoint, because it allows us to have that, just bigger sight picture.
Yeah, no, that's fabulous. That's fabulous. Siva, I'm sorry I've not asked you any questions here, but I would be curious, just in terms of AWS and where AWS is going in terms of the security infrastructure. I mean, what other types of infrastructure are AWS building and complementing, the SOC in the cloud?
Well, AWS is continuously innovating. We have been launching new capabilities in the cloud and new services continuously. There are a lot of services that help customers with their security positioning and posture in the cloud. I mean, there's the Security Hub, which gives an overview of their entire security posture in the cloud. I would say it's a continuous process, and there is always something, a new capability or a new service that is being continuously worked on, and because we innovate on behalf of our customers, and because we work backward from our customers, gather the customer feedback, and build what the customers are asking us for. So from that aspect, I would say that's a continuous process.
Yeah. I'll ask one more question around the performance, and maybe we can just see if there's questions that some of our audience has as well. But what do you guys see in terms of performance? I mean, how important is speed of response, speed of query, speed of getting detections faster from all of the data you're collecting? I mean, how important is that from your criteria as you look at your SOC tools? And Josh, maybe you want to start there.
Sure. Speed is critical. When you're dealing with particularly active exploitation, the faster I can identify, the faster I can trace it, that means the faster I can start containing it. If it takes me, 20, 30 minutes just to run a query to find out what's going on, that's time that system is exploiting other vulnerabilities in my network or my customer's network. And that's always a, perilous thing, because the longer it takes me to find something, the more they have time to find other things to exploit, to embed themselves in, start executing a ransomware, start encrypting drives. So speed is critical. Having the ability to have, that big compute power, both in terms of the storage that we have coming in that's being computed against, as well as just doing the transactional, is absolutely critical to SOC operations. If you have all this data, but you don't have the ability to actually run queries against it, what you have is just a log repository. You don't have actual SOC capabilities. Right.
And did you know? I mean, is there like metrics that you use internally in terms of how you measure your performance or response times on some of these? I mean, you mentioned that 38 minutes is unacceptable, but are there certain SLAs that you look at when you go back to your leadership as well internally?
Absolutely. I think every organization that is a service provider has some form of SLA, SLO that we put out to our customers. This is what we're providing you, and having a cloud-based tool allows us to meet all of our agreed upon SLAs and even our internal SLOs, because that allows us to kind of fine-tune what we're doing. We can take a look at this data and look at the big picture and tune down our alerts, get it really narrow, really focused, so that we're getting things alerted quicker, faster, and better, and we're getting the right data to the right people at the right time.
No, that's great. Aaron, I know, maybe ask the same question to you as well, in terms of what's your experience been and how are you reporting this back into your leadership teams as well, into your CIO?
Yeah, well, I mean, Josh said it very well. The name of the game in security operations is all about time. It's how short can you make that mean time to detect and mean time to respond? And, if we can rapidly get the information, have the models in the platform help guide us more effectively to make some better decisions, and then leverage, the team and their expertise and some automation to rapidly, make decisions and respond. That just makes us more effective, helps us to, be as operationally efficient as possible. Mm-hmm. With, the help of the platform, I think that's what accelerates those capabilities. Like I said, we've done it on-prem with moderate success, but the automation is not there, and it takes a whole team of people away from what other functions that they could be doing just to kind of just maintain it. And so that's what we're gaining here is the efficiency, the ability to make kind of more rapid decision making. Now, as far as measuring that, I think we're still it's still a very nascent capability. We do have some metrics that we are taking, and developing those over time. We're kind of looking holistically across all of what security is doing to provide a dashboard to the CIO and to academic administration. But I think, a platform like Devo does help produce some metrics that are easily consumable, don't take a lot of explanation, and that fit into kind of the model we're trying to develop around NIST, CSF, and communicate that upward as best as possible. So, I do kind of want to look at, there were some comments in the questions about cloud equals good. I will say it's definitely been a journey, right? And our constituents are surprisingly a bit reluctant, I think, to move, especially sensitive data, to the cloud. And we have some customers who are just bleeding edge and have been out there for a number of years. And so as an enterprise security team, balancing those desires, balancing kind of that compliance aspect with sensitive data. And that's kind of where AWS comes in and says, look, we have been protecting the data. We have this, agreement. If something happens, here are kind of the next steps. And that does help placate, I think, some of the legal teams on our end, internal audit on our side. So there, I think, while there are some maybe, like I said, paradigm shifts that have to occur, there are a lot of pros to moving to the cloud, to have this kind of dynamic nature and the acceleration of, like I was saying, being able to respond rapidly and to Josh's point as well, just it does make it, to have it all in one location, the tool doing a lot of the heavy lifting for the team. It's been great. So,
and I'll open it to any of you guys, but Siva, I'm not sure who it applies, but data sovereignty. Well, how is that a concern for you? I mean, do you have data that cannot leave either a state, and if you're, I guess in the AT&T world, if there's countries like Germany, certain data cannot leave that country. Are you guys experiencing that, and do you see that as a concern here as well? I mean, I know with Devo we can we can compartmentalize data, right? We can make sure it doesn't leave certain countries. But is that a concern for you guys?
I'll take that one first. Absolutely, for us, it is. Most of my work is done with state and federal contracts. So those groups are, very cognizant of where data is stored, where it can go, who might have access to that. So for us, knowing where the data is, who has access to the data, and what controls are put around those data that's in bytes is absolutely critical for both for us as a service provider, but then for our end customer, because ultimately we're dealing with their data and we're leveraging other folks' technology for that. So having a really, clear understanding of where data resides, what regulations and rules it falls under is absolutely critical.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that. We have HIPAA, we have FERPA, we have GLBA, you name it. We have some aspect, some business part of the university with some sort of federal requirement or industry requirement. And so yeah, I mean, that's hugely impactful, which I think informs the reticence of the institution at large to, continue to move toward the cloud. And so, I think some models like this with Devo, with AWS, we get some reassurances, we get some artifacts that kind of help support that argument that, hey, we aren't losing security posture because we've moved to the cloud, and we're not less efficient because we have cloud native security tools. In fact, I think it's the opposite, and will continue as this digital transformation. It just means that we're not using on-prem architecture anymore, and as that, I think we continue to migrate that way. We'll see more and more opportunities to kind of make those points to deliver, effective, secure solutions with cloud infrastructure versus on-prem. It's just a total shift, I think, in how you approach it, what your processes and procedures are. But it doesn't make, just because it's different doesn't mean it's worse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Siva, I don't know if you have anything to add.
So you had trouble with the audio earlier. Could you repeat the question?
Oh, I was just saying if you had anything else to add to that.
I see customers focusing on security at during migration, during digital transformations, and most successful customers have had security during as part of the initial process itself, not adding it as an afterthought. So I think that's what makes the transformation to the cloud successful, and also partners like Devo, who help customers manage the security posture as well, are adding value to that engagement.
Yeah. No, that's great. I think we have a few more minutes left. I thought, maybe we can just wrap up and just I'll ask you guys all, where would you like this to see? Where would you like this to go? And I can start, right? I mean, from Devo, we have a vision of what we're calling the autonomous SOC, right? The idea that, hey, not only do we have this, we can do the analytics, we can take all this data, we can keep the data for long periods of time as well. But we also have this vision where, using, for lack of better words, ML and AI engines in the core product, how can we start doing automated threat detection? So rather than coming in and seeing your 5,000 alerts fired up in the day, you're seeing 10 stories, and these stories are made up of certain activity. There may have been some alerts, there may have been some log activity that you'd see, but these stories would make up the things that you really care about in a prioritized way. So reducing a lot of the time spent querying and analyzing and looking for threats yourself, having the system automate that for you. That's kind of the vision that we're moving towards, right? Where we're going to build out this autonomous SOC to help you as SOC analysts and help your analysts, do less of the triaging and more of the threat hunting, utilizing some, really higher level stories. But I'm wondering from your perspective, where would you like to see this go as well? Where would you like to see this market go as well in terms of what you're using? I'll open it to any of you, whoever wants to answer first.
So I'll go first. I think you're kind of right on the mark. Automation is going to be key. The more that we can automate, the more that we can, leverage big data analytics, sprinkle in a little bit of that AI, ML, magic behind the scenes, piping in more data, getting in, massive amounts of cyber threat intelligence from all of those sources that are out there, whether they be things like, NSI, SAC, or CISA, getting that stuff automatically pumped into, the magic behind the scenes, having alerting automatically being generated, built based off of, whatever the latest malware is, having those kind of things being brought in and done automatically to where I don't have, 500 organizations all trying to write a new detection rule for Log4j version 15. The tool itself automatically says, we've gotten this data coming in, we've analyzed this data, here is the rule for Log4j version 15, and just push that out to everyone. And then have that kind of NIA or NLIA in the background, kind of parsing that out for you, going, no, here's what you really need to focus your time on. This is probably all noise.
Right. Well, that's cool.
I know we're running low on time, so I'll be brief. The SOC of the future for me, definitely a lot more automation, not only on the detection side, but on the response side. We employ a lot of students in our SOC. They kind of that tier 1 activity gets them experience and alleviates some pressure on our analysts to be able to do some more tasks and other in-depth things that we have going on in security. And so things I'm excited for are kind of the community, to be able to leverage other people, other experiences to kind of help inform kind of that intel aspect and optimize what we're doing. And I'd like to see maybe more narrative-driven alerting, what things the tool has done and the data that's collected to paint more of a narrative picture about each alert, just because we do have students and people maybe who might be untrained or, that helps not only get them into the system and up and going as quickly as possible, but, from a reporting perspective, helps us to have a better picture on documentation, what happened, lessons learned, and helps us make better decisions moving forward. So I think we're on our way. There's a lot of things happening in the space, and we're just excited to be part of that journey.
Yeah, I love that, Aaron. I love that narrative. Teaching students and getting more people into cyber is fantastic. I'm 200% in with you on that one. I love that idea. That's something we'll definitely take back. Ziva, I don't know if you have anything else to say. I know we got like a minute left, so I want to rush you, but
Yeah, I'll not use a lot of time. I mean, I also like the learning aspect that Alan has mentioned. I mean, it always helps to understand, build that knowledge base about what happened for future references, and also continue that knowledge moving forward. So I would just emphasize on that and say that that's a key part that Alan has spoken about.
Yeah, I think we are out of time. Oh, there's the next steps on the slide. Thanks, Ali. So you can get more information on the Devo platform. We're also available on the marketplace. And then for people in the Boston area, actually anywhere in the U.S., AWS has a security conference next week here in Boston. reinforce that we will be at, and we'd love to see anybody who's there, and we will have a booth there, and feel free to stop. Ali, maybe I'm stealing your thunder here, but before I hand it over back to you, Ali, I just want to say thank you to Josh, Aaron, and Siva. Thanks so much, guys. It was really fun talking to you guys. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Great discussion, everyone. Thank you so much. And yeah, we'll follow up with this recording and anything else that anything else we need to. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for the time.